Hey, and welcome back to the Deliberate Exchange. I'm so glad that you're here listening. Before we really get into this, I want to invite you to do something with me. Now, if you are driving or walking, folding laundry, whatever you're doing, I want you to notice your body for a second. Just notice your breath. Maybe notice where you're holding. Notice if anything in your body is braced. No need to change it. Just notice. Because this episode isn't about fixing, it's about truly understanding what's actually happening and then letting that understanding soften things. If you quit drinking or you're on a serious break with that, and instead of feeling calm or empowered, you feel more emotional, more reactive, a little more raw, nothing is wrong. You're not failing. You didn't make the wrong decision, and your body certainly isn't broken. This is one of the most common experiences I see and one of the least talked about. I also want to name something important because this episode really sets the tone for what we're doing on this podcast now. This isn't a podcast about white knuckling change. It's not about being quote unquote better, not about fixing yourself or optimizing your life. Although absolutely what I share in these episodes and what I've recorded before will in some ways help you optimize or improve yourself. But what we're doing here is learning how the nervous system actually works, especially for women who have been carrying a lot and for a long time. Now, alcohol is often part of that story, burnout also part of the story. Being that strong, capable one who holds everything together, also part of that story. So if you're here thinking like, okay, I thought quitting drinking was supposed to make things easier. What the fuck, Chels? You're not wrong. But you are missing, I think, a really important middle chapter. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Now, the piece that changes everything when you really understand it is that alcohol didn't specifically help you relax. It did regulate your nervous system. It absolutely lowered stimulation, it dampened sensations, it softened stress signals. It gave your body a shortcut to, air quotes, okay. So when you remove alcohol, your body doesn't automatically feel safe. It feels really exposed. Like think naked and afraid, like you're naked in a forest. And this is where a lot of women get turned off or scared because they think like, why the fuck am I more anxious? Why am I crying more? Why do I feel worse when I'm doing the right thing? And what's actually happening is your nervous system is no longer being numbed. So it's finally allowed to speak. And sometimes what it has to say has been waiting a long time. Now, when I first quit drinking, what I thought would happen was I would get and be calmer, that I would be more patient, more present, like I've unlocked this peaceful version of myself. And yes, some of that came. But what I didn't expect was how exposed I felt. It felt like I took the volume knob off of my nervous system. Everything was louder. My emotions, my exhaustion, the grief, the irritation, awareness of my own needs. And no one had really prepared me for that part. So when women tell me I quit drinking and now I feel like I'm unraveling, I'm hearing a nervous system that's no longer being overridden by alcohol. And that's good news. For me, quitting drinking removed the fastest off switch that I had come to know. When I was overwhelmed, there was nowhere to escape. No numbing, no shortcut, no way to override what I was feeling. And at first, sitting in that was uncomfortable to say the least, because I realized how much I had been relying on alcohol, not just socially, but physiologically. It was how I downshifted, how I quieted my mind, how I signaled, you're safe now. And when that was gone, my system didn't know what to do. And I also, like, when I quit 6 years ago, I didn't have this level of understanding, this vocabulary about the nervous system, about physiology, about downshifting nervous systems. So I had to learn how to feel safe in my body again. And that learning curve is where I see a lot of women create the assumption that they're failing, but they're not. Like they're just untrained. They don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And this is the nuanced part I really want you to kind of hear and have it land for you, that feeling worse after quitting drinking doesn't mean that alcohol was working. It means alcohol was covering, and that's a very important distinction here. And when you remove a cover, the system still needs support. Otherwise, one of two things happen. The first is that the nervous system goes into overdrive, like anxiety, hypervigilance, reactivity. Two, it goes into collapse, which is exhaustion, numbness, depression. And this is why white knuckling your way through things doesn't work. Like, it is not, I'll repeat, it is not a matter of just find more discipline. And this is also why just meditate backfires. And I think that what I've seen is this is the point where so many women go back to drinking. Not because they want to, but because no one showed them how to regulate without numbing. And this phase, as I said, is not about discipline. It's about learning safety without having to sedate yourself. Now, we'll stop here for a second because my sincerest hope is that your body softened in hearing this. If something in you went like, okay, that makes sense. Like, that takes the pressure off. I want you to notice that. Because that is your nervous system responding to understanding. And that is the beginning of regulation. Now, there's another layer here that I personally don't think gets enough attention, and that is grief. And not just like in the traditional grief that we mostly speak about when somebody dies, but when you quit drinking, you're not just changing the habit, you're grieving a certain version of yourself, a coping mechanism. You're grieving the way that you had been conditioned to survive. And sometimes you're grieving a whole social identity. And grief lives in the body. So if sadness or anger or tenderness shows up, seemingly out of nowhere, that isn't a regression. That means you're actually integrating. But this is also where identity starts to feel a little unstable, because if you're not the woman who drinks to cope, then who are you now? And that question doesn't need an immediate answer. That will come. I assure you, in 6 years of data, that does come. But what it actually needs is space and safety and support. The women who move through this particular phase with the most ease are not the most disciplined. They're the ones who build rhythm. They're the ones who build those small, consistent ways of coming back to their body, of learning their stress responses, of noticing what soothes instead of numbs. And this is where things typically start to shift from I'm depriving myself to I'm rebuilding myself, or from what's wrong with me to, oh, my body actually just needs support here. And that's when this stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a reclamation. And so I'll leave you with this. And again, you don't have to answer it today, but just consider, what is my body finally asking me to feel now that I'm not numbing it? And just notice what comes up over the next few days. Once again, no fixing, no judging. We're just getting into the practice of listening to our bodies. And if you are alcohol-free or want to be, and you're navigating this messy middle that can feel really tender too, this is exactly why communities like She Walks exist. It is a sober community just for women who are living and walking this path. The emotional stuff, the nervous system stuff, the real life stuff, and how to integrate it all. We don't rush healing. We don't pretend that it's easy. Like, you get a lot of real talk on our calls and in the She Walks community. And you never have to explain yourself. And what you're craving is consistency, like a steady place to land, to practice the regulation that I'm talking about, to stay or get connected to yourself without starting over every single Monday, then the deliberate practice is my ongoing space for that. It's not a program, not something that you push through. It's a rhythm. It's breath work, integration, and support for living this work, not just understanding it. She Walks is the community. The deliberate practice is the rhythm. And I'll link both in the show notes below. And you can just kind of look to see what fits you right now in this season. Now, if you know a woman who quit drinking and maybe you can see, or she's been sharing with you that she's like unraveling a little bit, send her this episode. Sometimes understanding is the thing that lets the body finally exhale, and also that they understand that they are not alone. Because I can tell you from my personal experience and from the women that I work with, this can be a really, really lonely space. So share this episode with them. And I'm really glad that you're here listening. And send me a message if you have any questions. Of course, I'm always open. In the meantime, breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself.